Alright guys, so my boy Elijah is being attacked right now, but mostly because most people don't understand. So let's clear this all up, alright? This is the contested contradiction, or whatever, people that don't agree with. And he went up from thence from Bethel, and he was going up by the way, and there came forth little children. There's a reason why I highlighted this, because the word in Hebrew is na'ar, which actually talks about children from the ages of 20 years old and under. Those are what considered are children. Little happens to be slightly smaller and more specific, so it might be teenagers. Out of the city, and mocked him, and said unto him, Go up, thou bald head, go up, thou bald head, mocking his bald head. Now, the bald head has religious reasons, so it's not because he's old. Elisha is actually really young, and we'll get to that. And he turned back and looked on them and cursed them in the name of the Lord. And there came forth 2 she-bears out of the wood. Now, first off, these were Palestinian female bears. Very tiny. They're very small. They're not much of a threat. And tear, the word tear, does means something different, and I'll get to that. 40 and 2 children of them. So there was 2 of them. There was 42 of them. That's a whole lot for just 2 small bears. And he went from thence to Mount Carmel, and thence he returned to Samaria. It didn't say they got killed, but what are the words we need to clarify? One, we need to clarify tear. We're going to clarify bald head, so you know he's not an old dude. And we're going to clarify little children. So, alright, this is God addressing all the Israelites within the desert. And your carcasses shall fall in this wilderness, and all the were numbered of you, according to your whole number, from 20 years old and upward, which have murmured against me. So they were talking crap about God. 20 years old and upward. 20 years old is considered an adult. Anything upward. Okay? And then it goes out, Doubtless ye shall not come into the land, concerning I swear to make you dwell there, say Caleb and blah blah blah, son of Nun. But your little ones, which ye said should be a prey, them will I bring in, and they shall know the land which ye have despised. But as for you, your carcasses shall fall in this wilderness, and your children shall wander in the wilderness 40 years. So everyone who was at this time under the age of 20 was considered children and considered little ones. So interchangeably, little children, little ones, they're all the same thing. It always means under 20 years old. So how do we know that if they're not teenagers or little kids? Well, for one, bears, little children, you really think they're going to stick around for that? Obviously teens. But since that doesn't quite specify, I'm going to tell you the word tear. Because the word T-A-R-E is used, and in Samuel's 2, in these chapters, it speaks about garments when it refers to this. In 2 Kings 5:7, it talks about rent clothes, which is the same thing. Clothes and garments, same thing. Tear and rent. But it always refers to the context of clothing. That's the only time this sort of word is used, or this sort of word is used. And in this Bible, they also use the word T-E-A-R, tear. In Psalms 50:22 and Jeremiah 1:10. Tear them, in other versions, pull down, pluck up, to break down. So the words T-E-A-R doesn't mean the same thing as T-A-R-E in terms of what they're referring to. Tear them, it will be specific, people, things, or destruction, pluck up, or destroyed or killed. T-A-R-E, or rent, has to do with the tearing of garments, clothes, or being mauled. So maybe like a ripping of flesh, but it doesn't mean they've been killed or murdered, or they just been like attacked, or their clothes have been tugged at and ripped. So we'll get to those scriptures. Psalms 50, verse 22. Now consider this, ye that forget God, lest I tear you in pieces, and there be none to deliver. Tear you, T-E-A-R, referring to ripping something apart. But he's talking about a person here. Because in order before thine eyes. Now consider this, ye that forget God. People are the ones who are able to remember or forget God. lest I tear you into pieces, referring to a person. Okay, T-E-A-R refers to a person or the destruction of something. Something very personal, right? Okay, let's go to T-A-R-E. Alright, 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 7. And it came to pass, when the king of Israel had read the letter, that he rent his clothes. Rent his clothes. Alright, let's go to the other one that talks about clothing. Remember that word, rent. 2 Samuel chapter 13, verse 19. And Tamar put ashes on her head and rent her garments. Rent her garment. So the word rent still refers to clothes and garments. Just pointing that out. Remember garment and remember rent. Let's go to the next one. And literally right there in the same chapter, 13 verses 31. Then the king arose and tear, T-A-R-E, his garments. Tear his garments and lay on the earth. And his servants stood by with their clothes rent. So that's the aftermath of a tear. Rent. So tear is during. Now we're going to go back to the Elisha. And there came forth 2 she-bears out of the wood, and tear, T-A-R-E, 40, and 2 children of them. Tear, having to do with garments. I don't doubt they might have gotten hurt, but they were just pulling on the garments. Alright, so we solved that. Now, let's look at the T-E-A-R. See, I have this, they set thee over the nations, over the kingdoms, to root out, and to pull down, and to destroy, and to throw down, to build, and to plant. To pull down. Pull down is another word for T-E-A-R. And I'm going to... So, English Bible would say, set you over the nations, kingdom, to uproot, and to tear down. Tear. T-E-A-R. Alright, it's a lot more specific. So that should definitely clear up that Elijah didn't command the bears to kill them. Alright, let's go to how big these bears are. Small range for a big bear, stretching from the lush ranges of northern Iran along the Caspian Sea and the majestic Caucasus Mountains and into Turkey. Syrian brown bears inhabit a relatively small geographic area. Despite their limited range, they can reach sizes up to 4.5 feet in length. That's pretty small for the nose to tail, and weigh over 500 pounds. Now, of course, those kids aren't going to all overpower it, but there was 42 of them, so they can definitely do it. And there's the adorable bear. Only about 5 feet long. As for baldness not being part of age, Jeremiah 48:37. So, for every head bald and every beard clipped, upon all hands shall be cuttings, and upon the loins sackcloth. For every head is shaved and every beard cut off. On all hands are gashes, and around the waist is sackcloth. Okay, this was during the time of Moab, and he was telling how Moab's going to be regretful for what they've done, and the only way they can show regret is to shave their heads, and their beards are cut off, and same as ripping garments. So the reason why Elijah is bald is because it's for religious reasons. He's now the next prophet, and it shows that, one, he's clean, and by cleanliness, I mean what is referred to in Leviticus 13:14, and mostly 13:40. 3:24 is very specific about women and how their hair is falling out. That's not about shaving baldness. This is like for checking for leprosy, which means to be unclean. If you shave your head bald, or and they see that you're balding and you have a patch on there that shows that you have leprosy or a disease, then you are unclean. So a bald that is completely shaven with no blemishes is clean. So that's another way of remorse, showing you're clean and showing that you're going to bring in news, like some pretty bad news or a warning. It's basically a warning, which Elijah is basically doing that. He's giving those children warnings. And that's what that curse meant. So they were not killed off. They just had their garments tossed around, and they were just being tossed around by very tiny bears, and all 42 of them were trying to fight them off, and none of them died. The scriptures doesn't say that they died at all. They might have gotten injured, definitely, but not dead. And everyone, I don't know why, but they're saying oh, they would have just ran away or something like that. I'm like, well, yeah, too, and then the bear would get confused of who to chase, really. Bears aren't that brave. They only attack because, they feel threatened, or if a prophet from God told them to do it. But they're fine, they're okay.